Hello and welcome to the Gameplay Cast's review for the RTS game Command & Conquer Red Alert 2, and also the wider Command & Conquer Ultimate Collection. Once upon a time, there was a studio called Westwood Studios, formerly Westwood Associates. In my opinion, the highlight of this studio's eclectic game library is the Command & Conquer series. These games were among the first RTS games I ever played, and few games in this genre have ever captured me in the same way as Red Alert and Red Alert 2. Unfortunately, Westwood was purchased by the Devil Incarnate, also known as EA. So inevitably the studio was ruined and broken down, never to return. Let us take a moment to remember this fallen hero. RIP, Westwood Studios. Anyway, for the sake of this review, I'm going to stick to Red Alert 2 as the game, on its own, is enough to warrant the price tag in my humble opinion. And despite its year 2000 release date, still represents for me the pinnacle of Command & Conquer and the RTS genre. The concept to Red Alert is basically what would happen if Hitler was taken out of time, thus preventing World War II from ever happening. Well, instead a conflict between the Allies and the Soviets takes place. So in the first game, you can prevent the Soviets from conquering Europe, or do the conquering. RA2 takes place in the modern day after the first game, where it's assumed the canon is that the Allies were victorious. This time, the focus is on the Soviets invading America. I'm not even going to ask the question of, is this game worth your time or money? Of course it is. It's fantastic. No need to decide if you should add the Command & Conquer Ultimate Collection to your Steam library, you definitely should. And you should also continue watching to hear my justification, as well as the final score out of 10. When the game first loads up, you get one of the classic live-action cutscenes that were a trademark of the series. I actually love these, and to be honest, I don't really understand why games have stopped doing them. Given the cost to create super detailed, motion-capped cutscenes, a lot of games could probably save money and just hire some actors and make some real sets. Anyway, once the cutscene ends, you get hit with the banging soundtrack, which is also a bit of a feature of the Command & Conquer games. In Red Alert 2's case, I totally forgot how good the soundtrack was. Heavy electric guitar use is always a good thing in my book. In Red Alert 2 alone, we get two awesome campaigns. You can play as the Allies or the Soviets. I'm more Team Red in this game as the Apocalypse tanks are absolute beasts. Whichever you pick, you get a great mashup of missions with different objectives, maps and units. For newcomers to the game, each mission gradually increases in difficulty and complexity, so it's a very accessible and new player-friendly game. In total there are 18 Allied and 18 Soviet missions, plus since we bought the Ultimate Collection, we get the Yuri's Revenge expansion with the additional 12 missions. In my view, the campaign really is the star of the show. There's a ton of replayability, and if/when you get bored of that, you can play some multiplayer. You can play local skirmishes against the computer, or with some additional software, play online against other people. I haven't really tested much online play in this version of the game. You're probably better off playing against friends if you want to avoid cheaters. Even back in the day, the servers were rife with players cheating, so consider this fair warning. There are some awesome map packs and map editors too, if that's your thing. The actual RTS mechanics, units and factions are some of the best ever. Pretty much all have distinct lines and are fully voiced. Special units feel powerful and distinctly different from each other, with the Soviets tending to have the slower, more powerful direct units, while the Allies have more flexible, faster ones. There are strengths, weaknesses, and alternate abilities that offer additional combat options and tactics too. For example, the Allied GI can deploy, increasing their firepower. Put an engineer in a UPC, and it turns into a repair vehicle. Desolators can deploy to turn some of the ground radioactive, etc. It is a lot of fun. I must have done both the campaigns at least half a dozen times each over the years, and I still enjoy it today. Yeah, the graphics look a bit dated now, and the games could use some TLC to bring them up to modern standards, but they are still very playable and satisfying. If you aren't walking around your house saying, "Kirov reporting," by the end of the Soviet campaign, then there's something wrong with you. Also, the Ultimate Edition offers a combination of 12 games and expansions, all for the measly price of £20. That's like $25 US. I feel like I say this in all these reviews, but in today's £70 rip-off world, this is an absolute steal. The RTS genre has been badly neglected in the last decade, so if you've never tried any games like this is your perfect gateway drug. Try it, it's great. If you can see past the dated graphics, you will soon be immersed. And if the US vs Soviets isn't for you, there's always Tiberian Sun or one of the other games to try. Maybe not Generals though, that game was hot garbage, even back in the day.
It is a gift.
Issues? Negatives? Nah, these games were perfect, trust me bro. Well, in all seriousness, there is very little to complain about in my opinion. I think the main issues are all due to the age of the games, as this definitely creates the potential for some graphical and compatibility errors. Moreover, as this is published by EA, though I still think it's value for money, it's largely just a money grab from their side, as they have done little to no work remastering any of these games, or even modifying them to work on modern widescreen monitors. For example, it took me a good while to get Red Alert 2 working in windowed view and at higher resolution. They have released remastered versions of Red Alert 1 and the original Command & Conquer game, but nothing in the Ultimate Collection has had this treatment. So unfortunately you may need to do some forum searching and some file modifications to get the game running how you want. There's also no way to get the menu to display in a higher resolution, so it's hard coded to 800 by 800 or something like that. Wouldn't it be amazing if EA had actually remastered all the games so that they were high resolution and compatible with modern day monitors? Might even be worth a bigger price tag too. C'est la vie. I briefly touched on this earlier, but multiplayer cheating is still an issue in the game, and if you play public matches there's a good chance of being cheated. It's a bit Wild West on the servers these days, but then it always was. I'd keep serious games for private matches with friends or local games against the computer. These games are so nostalgic for me, but even playing through them now, it's not just nostalgia keeping me playing. These are still top RTS games. The gameplay is great. I love building up ridiculous impenetrable bases. Side note, prism towers and Tesla coils are just cool, man. Then sending out waves of apocalypse tanks to just decimate the enemy. You'd think it might get a bit repetitive and boring, but the gradual inclusion of new units and increased mission difficulty keep it feeling fresh, as do the totally over-the-top cutscenes and characters. RTS seems to have become a bit of a forgotten genre, and I don't really understand why, as good RTS games like these are pretty much timeless. Are you honestly saying people have never heard of Age of Empires and Command & Conquer? Thankfully, they seem to be making a bit of a comeback as the gaming industry wakes up from the creative void of the last decade, which might signal some new and exciting games on the horizon. In the meantime, there is a metric ton of old games like these ones to scratch that itch. So, it's a 10 out of 10. That's right, Command & Conquer Ultimate Collection is a 10 out of 10. Yeah, you might have to wrestle with some settings in the program files, and no, it's not going to look the best, but for £20 the amount of content is staggering, and these games are top RTS titles. Age has not dimmed their greatness, and I'm not knocking points off for graphics and settings issues in RTS games that are well over a decade old. If you like strategy in RTS, there is something here for you. And that is all you get. And as always, f*** Erebus.